Hi, welcome to the third class in the first week of the Watcher course. We're going to talk about common online risks for early childhood. This is probably the most important class of the first week. We're also halfway through the week. So well done. Let's go. What we're going to cover in this week. First, how much time is too much time? Okay? Second, passive content consumption issues. Third, accidental exposure to inappropriate content. Ads and commercial influence. And privacy risks for the youngest. So, understanding too much screen time. How can you identify that your child is using the screen more than she should? First, there is a displacement of essential activities, right? Like physical play, creative activities, reading books, interactions with family. Screen is becoming a priority. Second, it impacts on sleep, right? Because using screens before bedtime, and this happens to adults too, this regulates our biological clock. Why this happens? Because screens emit a blue light, a wavelength that's associated by our body to early morning light. So when you're looking at a screen, our body understands that it's early and it's triggering biological reactions related to waking up and to becoming alert. Okay? Also, the content on screen is stimulative, so it gets the child more excited and makes it harder for her to relax and go to bed. Second, there is a difficulty to focus and to pay attention, right? Because screen content is fast-paced, and it impairs the ability to keep focused and reduces attention span. Right? Too many colors, too many movements, too fast. Real world is nowhere near that. So it's boring. It becomes boring to the child. As we've seen before, the early stages have recommendations about screen usage, right? And before 2 years old, really should not be using any screen. These recommendations come from different associations and health organizations, and none of them gives clear orientations to the use after 5 years old or when your child becomes 6 years old and older. But from the specialized literature, what we have been seeing is after 5 years old, from 6 years old and on, no more than 2 hours a day, right? And when they become teens and adults, the recommended screen time usage is no more than 4 hours a day. So this goes for us grown-ups as well, right? Second, screen always after physical world. So prioritize physical world activities instead of virtual activities, right? So, problems with passive content consumption. First, the lack of interaction with the real world and with people at early ages hinders language development, critical thinking, and attention span development, right? This lack of interaction with the real world also hinders their development in problem-solving skills, in the use of language, as we mentioned, and also the use of imagination. Okay? Few or no conversation and real-time responses on passive content consumption also hinders social skill development, reasoning, questioning, and making choices. And passive content consumption contributes very little to cognitive development compared to interactive experiences. So in this aspect, interactive content is far superior to passive content consumption. Children develop social bonding, cognitive abilities when they are playing, right? So playtime is crucial for that development. So if you're responsible for a child, if you're a caregiver, if you're a parent, if you're a relative, children learn through play, okay? So play with them. They experience joyful moments, and these joyful moments release feel-good hormones, dopamine, okay? Also endorphins and oxytocin. So it's a much more complete type of joyful moment than the cheap dopamine triggering screen time. Through play, children learn how to interact socially, right? And this strengthens their bonding and their emotional connections, and it builds trust on them, okay? Through play, they feel safe. It develops a safe space for them where they can explore emotions, express themselves, and develop social skills. And these are abilities that they are going to use throughout their lives. So, moving on, accidental exposure to inappropriate content. Even kid-friendly platforms and apps can lead to unsuitable content from ads or related videos. Older siblings' devices, or sometimes older siblings from their friends' devices. Lack of filters on search results. And pop-ups. All of these can lead to inappropriate content. What's inappropriate content? Sexual content, violent content, and scary content, right? All these contents can traumatize a child. Advertising and commercial content. What are the risks associated with those? First, some apps and websites have what we call blended content, which is commercial content that's built into the website or into the game that's focused and targeted at making your child want to buy, to consume certain brands and certain products. Okay? And because it's blended in, the child has no idea that she's being advertised to. Very influential. Also, this type of content is focused on developing desires, right? So it can make them focus on getting this specific toy or a specific food or a specific game, okay? Because children have a difficult time separating the make-believe and unreal world that's presented to them on screens from reality, they may not understand what's going on and how that ad is trying to sell them something. Okay? They probably are going to interpret that as part of what they're watching. And in-app purchases, right? Tempting buttons displayed during a game, buy more or unlock a level sooner than you would by playing normally. These are traps built in to make your child purchase something, and she won't even realize what's going on. And last but not least, privacy risks. First is data collection, right? Many apps collect information about your kid's location, the type of device they're using, their usage habits. Even if they say it's anonymized, most of the times it's not, right? And then they use this information for targeted advertising, right? The collected data is used to show specific ads to your child and influence your child's preferences. Also, companies build an online identity for your child. So the sooner they are collecting this data, the sooner they are building a profile for your child. And this will follow them for the rest of their lives. And also makes them vulnerable to unscrupulous actors, right? So some unscrupulous apps and actors may gather more sensitive data about your child without her and you even knowing it. So summing up this lesson, right? We understood that too much screen time is a matter of prioritization, right? And what the symptoms are that can tell you your child is using a screen way longer than she should. We learned that interactive play is the way. That's how a child develops cognition, bonding, social skills, happiness, safety. Accidental exposure to different sorts of contents can happen from many different sorts, and many different types of content are inappropriate to children, okay? Commercial and ads are a different category and must be avoided at all costs. And how privacy must be protected at all costs, right? And in the next week, we are going to go into details about how to do this. So that was it for our lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, follow us, and don't forget to join our community where we can exchange experiences, tips, resources, and valuable content. I'll see you in the next class.